Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout, looking ahead to Fantasy Premier League Game Week 37. It's another double game week for Brighton again, plus Chelsea this time around, and perhaps the main draw, the two Manchester clubs. This time we're getting our crystal balls out, trying to predict who will score and assist this game week via the goals and assists imminent tables that we've created via the Fantasy Football Scout members area, the stats table there. You can create your own tables, and I have. We'll see how we got on last week. We'll reveal our Game Week 37 transfer plans. The Game Week's still going on, by the way, so we'll see how we're getting on so far. And we'll also have a live Q&A at the end. So get your thinking caps on for some questions. My name is Joe, and as ever, I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's Deputy Editor, Tom. Tom, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Joe. I don't own Purvis Estupinan, so it could be going better, but okay still. I think I'm on 69 points with, like you just mentioned, Thursday's game still to play. So yeah, all to play for still, but yeah, okay week.
I'm not having such a good week. I don't own Estupinan, but as a Brighton fan, I don't care. Because it was great to see his goal again. Another goal flying to Ramsdale's net. So yeah, I'm on 57 points at the moment, 6 to go, including my captain, who is Isak this time. So fingers crossed he plays, or fingers crossed if he doesn't play, if he doesn't start, he comes on and gets me something. So plenty of crossed fingers there. Just before we move on, just want to welcome those who are joining us early in the live chat. FPL Bateman, Heather, Gavin, Exploring, Charlie, Brad, Yun, Sukan, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us. Do remember to press that like button, and do remember to subscribe if you're not already, or tell your friends to subscribe as well. Also, reminder, all our videos are available as a podcast a bit later. So if you don't want to look at us, you can listen to us. So get your thinking caps on for those questions. What we'll do is we'll sort of go through, we'll look at how we got on last week with our so far with our goals imminent and assists imminent tables. We'll look at the new ones, and then we will look at our teams, and then we'll have that live Q&A at the end. So we'll do that as well. Just in the live chat, Heather also says, I don't have a Stupinan either. Well, that makes 3 of us then. But I hope you're a Brighton fan, so it won't matter. Let's have a look how we did. Goals imminent. Game week 36 so far. I don't think we've got Matoma and Willock on the list. So they've got a chance to redeem themselves so far. But first of all, we got Maddison blanked, Matoma blanked so far. Calvert-Lewin, he didn't reward us this time around, and went off early. Willock did get an assist, so he's still got a chance to do well. Mitrovic, as it was I put a tweet up just saying it was inevitable, really. Mitrovic returns, doesn't start, comes on, scores. That's what he does. Buendia let us down. Rashford didn't play, and Jesus let us down, or rather didn't let this Brighton fan down. Thank you, Jesus. So we start with the top then. Madison. I mean, Leicester have gone, aren't they? They're not a Premier League side anymore.
Well, it doesn't look good for them, does it? After last night, they needed a big performance, and they look lifeless to me. What have they got left? They've got Newcastle away, West Ham at home. So 2 difficult fixtures as well. So it doesn't look good. Maddison just struggled. I mean, there weren't options there for him. He got on the ball quite a bit, but he didn't want to release the ball, so the options weren't there for him to pass to. And yeah, it's staggering when you look at the Leicester lineup when it came out last night, and you think, what are they doing in the relegation zone? They've got quality all over the pitch, but it's just not happening for them. So it'll be interesting to see if they do go down, where Maddison ends up next year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's basically between Leeds, Leicester, and Everton, really, for that other spot.
Forest, yeah, you'd think Forest, they got the point at the weekend, didn't they? They have got 2 very difficult games. They've got Arsenal at the weekend. We don't know what mental state Arsenal are going to be in for that one.
Shattered after.
Yeah,
Brighton.
Well, exactly, yeah. And I mean, if they don't win on Saturday, the title City, so they've still got technically something to fight for. But yeah, Forest, they've done okay. They've got 4 points over the last 2.
Yeah.
just given themselves a little bit of distance now. But yeah, it looks like Leicester are going down at this stage. So.
Okay, Matoma. He's still got a match to go for Matoma against Newcastle, so he
Yeah,
could do well. Looks bright
yeah,
against Arsenal. Always looks good. What echoes around my head though is that De Zerbi has basically said that Matoma can't play. He's not a 3-game-a-week player, so he can't do weekend, midweek, weekend at the moment. Having said that, he might end up doing that.
yeah, I think you have to,
and he may well have to. But I, as a Matoma owner, am bracing myself for a benching at some point. It could be this midweek. It could be Saturday. This weekend. It could be next midweek when they have another, because they've got another double game week.
Well, so it's Southampton at home at the weekend, isn't it? So maybe you're looking at that fixture as where he could bring a few of the fringe players in.
I mean, to be honest, around my rank, he's pretty much getting on for over 90% owned. Yeah. So I mean, as a Brighton fan, I would like him to play. As a Brighton fan, I would also like him to be safe and well and not get injured. And also as an FPL manager, purely FPL, not Brighton fan here, I don't care whether he turns up or not.
Yeah,
because he's so everyone around me will get his points or not.
Yeah, he's not a captain option for well, I don't think so, for 37 for those reasons. So yeah, it shouldn't make too much of a difference if he does sit one of those games out.
Calvert-Lewin went off early. Is he once again injured?
Well, he had a tight groin, but Dice said after the match that he hoped that by bringing him off at half time, he'd kind of stopped any serious damage. The game was essentially lost at that point anyway. They were 2-0 down to City, I think, at half time. Yeah. So maybe by reserving him and not pushing him too much, he'll be back, because they really need him. I didn't think Everton did too badly at the weekend until they conceded. They were actually, they were limiting City's opportunities, okay, I thought, but their focus wouldn't have been really on that match. It's the last two now. What have they got? They got Wolves and Bournemouth, so massive games for them, and they need him back. Yeah.
Okay, Willock has already returned for his owners, 4.7 million. So an assist so far in a double game week is pretty good so far. Can they hold out a bit of hope for him, considering you've got one more game left of the double game, but also Leicester next?
Yeah, I didn't think he played very well against Leeds, but he got the assist from what I saw. But he got the assist, and he's pretty nailed on at the moment with Longstaff out of the team. So 4.7 million, gets forward, gets a lot of shots off. I mean, there's what's not to like, really. I think he's good, and wouldn't surprise me if he got something else again on Thursday.
So Mitrovic, the likes of Mitrovic are, the fact is they're not a double game week side, and Mitrovic can play and score every match, but everyone's going to miss his points, aren't they? They're just not going to go there. But I guess if you are chasing and you want a guaranteed goal scorer, Mitrovic could be a punt. But it's hard to recommend past a double game week player this week.
Yeah, what did it take him? 6 minutes at the weekend after he came on? He had scored within that time. So, and he just looked dangerous. He could have had another. So, it's hard to look at him. But what was it? Palace and Man United to play. Yeah, it's hard to look at him now, but. Interested to see his pricing next year. 7 million, 7.5 million maybe. I think if the fixtures fall kindly for Fulham at the start, I think a lot of people have their team.
He's in the sort of same price range as Tony, as in mid-price forwards. You're going to get goals, but he's not going to score every match. But Tony will have a ban, presumably, that will stretch into the beginning of the season. So that's where Mitrovic's value will be, and Tony's price, whatever it is, will go down, because there might be some people getting him in, but he will have a red flag saying ineligible due to whatever sanction he gets. I think we'll be looking at Mitrovic's and your Watkins as well. I presume we'll be in that kind of price bracket, exactly. But all good players on penalties, nailed on. Okay.
Speaking
of Villa attacking players, Buendia at Villa. What do you make of Villa now? I mean, still not so keen on their attack, or could you see something at the weekend?
We looked a lot better. We looked a lot better at the weekend, and Buendia was unfortunate. He hit the bar. He was the link man between midfield and attack, and he looked good. He looked lively. We had Bailey back in the team, and the closer I got to the weekend, the more confident I was. I think when we recorded last week, Joe, I was pretty pessimistic about it. But by the time we got to Saturday, I did think that, a packed out Villa Park, I thought that we'd get a good performance, and we did. Spurs had chances in the second half, but we caught them offside, I think, 11 times in the game. And yeah, I mean, Buendia, the fixtures are tough for us now. We've got Liverpool and Brighton, so not the time now, but yeah, we could still have a say. We could still get into Europe, so there's still a bit to play for.
Rashford, we'll probably come to a bit later. I think you and I, well, I'm speaking for myself, I kind of hope he's still not available because I've got another benching problem this time around. So hopefully I can get it the right way round this time. I had Grealish first sub, annoying, and Shaw stays on my bench. But Isak this time around is on my bench against Leicester. I really want to play him. So I guess the news about Rashford will come later in the week. So check out the team news video and podcast later in the week with us. And Jesus with Arsenal. What do we make of Arsenal now? I mean, they're going to be second. It is in one regard the season they didn't expect. They've exceeded expectations, but it's given that they were first for so long, they will feel disappointed. So I was going to earmark Arsenal players for game week 38, but I don't know anymore. What do you think?
That was going to be my question to you, Joe, because I know you were looking at that Wolves fixture in 38 as an Odegaard or a Martinelli, Martinelli actually got injured at the weekend. But when he kind of came off, I immediately started thinking Trossard could be a good option. He's got a lot of assists since he went to Arsenal, but now it's like mentally, physically, where are they at after that defeat? Because going to Forest is a great fixture. Yes, Forest are better at home, but they still concede a lot of chances. So this is a good fixture for Arsenal, but which version of them will turn up? I'm probably not going to go there because there's doublers, which I'm going to focus on. But it's a really hard call. This one.
More for game week 38, really. But I'm probably hopefully going to go into game week 38 with 2 free transfers. I've got a game week 38 issue in the life is takes precedent in that around where I live there's a tiny city called Wells, which has a comedy festival which lots of well-known comedians come to, and we're booked up to see a whole bunch of people. So I'll be watching Richard Herring, John Robbins and James Acaster and more. And I won't be around. I just won't have access to the internet and my phone.
Okay.
Ahead of the deadline. So in the afternoon,
it was chaos last year. I can remember because we got a lot of team leagues, didn't we?
Because we're going to have lots of team leagues, and I will not be around for that. There's no way I can do that. So I'm going to make my moves in the morning on Sunday, and there we go. Just watch some comedy, but it's also I'm not going to watch any of the matches because I'm going to be out of action. So I might possibly there's some point around 5 o'clock I might be able to dip in. But it's not really going to be
into the match of the day challenge. Do the match of the day challenge or something if you don't get to see them.
It could be a chance for that. But yeah, I won't have any. So I will have. I know I'll have the disappointment of certain players not being benched, but also it's been quite nice to free myself. This week I did my transfers early for money, and so it was quite nice. I know there was. I don't think there were any leaks about Newcastle's lineup beforehand, but it was quite nice not really sort of being part of that. And
it's not a side of the game which I'm particularly a fan of. I would much rather they bring the deadline forward to, well, I say 2 hours, but things still come out, don't they? Yeah. But maybe less so now. Yeah. The chances of leaks diminish the further you bring the deadline forward.
So, for example, someone like me who's busy that day, I mean, although I'll be at some point a bit before. A bit after 2, I might, be, I think there might be an interval or something, and so I could make a move then because I'll have but we don't live in a perfect world where it's going to be you're going to get the lineups as they come out, and the deadline is then, which I wish there was. So when is the deadline? The kickoff is 4:30, so a 3:30 deadline. Yeah, that probably would. I would be okay with that. I might have a chance.
I mean,
I'm not going to do it on a whim or on a bit of gossip.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes things difficult on Saturday when you've got other things going on in your life and you've got families and commitments and things like that, to then have to pull yourself away for a kind of what can be a kind of a half hour to an hour period before on the run up. It's certainly not ideal, and I do think there's skill in predictions of lineups and things. I think there is Pep Roulette is an incredibly difficult game to play, but I do think there's an art to it that certain people are better than other people at it. So I like that element of the game.
And there's so many mischief makers all over the forums and over Twitter. So there are certain people you can rely on, but maybe there's mischief makers feeding them information as well. Anyway, I'm going to watch a bunch of comedians instead. So let's
quite fancy that myself.
Pop down to Wells and you'll see the comedy.
I would if it was closer.
Let's have a look at the Assists Imminent table. Apologies for a slight lack of colour on this one. I had to hastily quickly make this one because I lost mine from the Excel spreadsheet I had. So Trippier blanked again as ever. He's become a joke now. McAllister,
same again. But every week in the scout notes, we're kind of like, created loads of chances, no points. Same again. 1 clean sheet in 15 now for Newcastle, and I might be selling him this week, and I think a lot of people might be considering the same.
So I'm going to get some virtual vegetables thrown at me if he's still on the Assist Imminent table. But then we guess he's got a game to go in game week 36. McAllister saying game week to go in game week 36. Played in the number 10 role, did move back deeper towards the end of the match. So
Welbeck wasn't it? Welbeck I think came on.
Yeah, it's a strong bench because I think he replaced Gilmore. In essence, Gilmore's role, I think.
Yeah, so Welbeck came on, didn't he? And it shifted everybody around a bit. I think it was after about an hour. So, but he actually looked better when he was deeper. I thought.
I don't mind that. So we'll see. But they've got so many options, so many young players chomping at the bit to play. Still could get a return there. Fernandez did reward us though. This is still on the table possibly. Let's have a look in a sec. But he got the assist. He's putting up some good numbers, isn't he, Bruno? At the moment, he's Hall imminent, don't you think, for game week 37?
Yeah, I mean against Wolves, I think he had 7 shots, 5 created chances, which is more than anybody else has got in game week 36 so far. He's at the centre of everything good United do, and I think if Rashford's out, he's undoubtedly the best United option to go into this forthcoming double with. And it does feel like a big haul is imminent. I just hope we get it before the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely. I've been waiting for that for a while, but I'll take a few drips and drabs so far. Martinelli has.
Just quickly, Joe. I mean, we'll talk about it a bit later with our teams, but I've actually been thinking about him as a captain for game week 37. Have you kind of been looking at other options, or are you kind of firmly set on Haaland?
Yeah. Right, so with Manchester City, if they win the title against Chelsea, the first match of their double, then I would anticipate Haaland is at risk. But that's not to say Haaland won't come on. And that's also not to say Haaland won't score against Chelsea. In fact, he will. And also it's a double game week. So there will be some triple captains still out there. So I think we're looking at 200 and something, 200 and tiny bit % owned Haaland. So if you don't captain him,
it could go very badly wrong.
It could go very badly wrong because you're betting on him not scoring against Chelsea and not coming on in the second match and doing well in that, which he so easily could. But having said that, this is the sort of manager you have to be. I'm not the sort of manager to back away from that, to bet against Haaland. But what you say makes a lot of sense. Fernandes is a good. I think he is.
I'm tempted. Yeah.
I've certainly put my vice captaincy on him. Put it that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just I was looking at it this morning, and I agree with you, Joe. I think that Haaland starts against Chelsea. I think they've got the opportunity to lift the trophy at the end of that match at the Etihad on Sunday. But I don't think he plays in midweek. Yeah, he might come off the bench, but it wouldn't surprise me if he had a complete rest. And that just got me thinking about alternatives, and Bruno's at the top of that list. But yeah, maybe we'll chat about that a bit more when we come onto our teams.
Definitely got me thinking there. But yeah, also, I mean, Fernandes could get injured, for example, and then not play the second match, in which case...
Yeah.
Oh well.
That wouldn't stop him though, would it? He'd be back.
Oh, that wouldn't stop. Yeah, he would still go on with no legs. It'd be like the Black Knight in Holy Grail, just a flesh wound. Right, Martinelli, we've mentioned him before. Came off injured. Traore, that's the Bournemouth one. We're going to skip over him because he's not getting the game time. Remember, this is last 4 matches that they played. March, I'm probably going to skip over him because I don't think he's going to play again this season. So, no. But if he's still on the assist imminent table, it's because just in case, you never know. But Eze, he didn't get an assist, so really let us down there. But he did manage to get a couple of goals. And once again, I say it every week, we're going to keep ignoring Palace players, aren't we, until the season ends?
Yeah. I mean, Eze's got 6 goals in 8 games under Hodgson now. His goal threat's just going massive, or through the roof, really. I mean, I feel it's the position we're in. I did like an RMT surgery thing on Friday, and somebody said, would you go McAllister or would you go Eze? And I said, I find it very hard to look past McAllister because he's got 2 additional games in the next 2 weeks. Then you feel bad for saying that because there are these players who are just really consistently doing the business, and Eze's one of them. If you're chasing and you're after a differential and you don't mind the fact that he's got 1 less game than somebody like McAllister, then go for it.
Anthony at Manchester United, he did get an assist. If Rashford's out as well, that could present a possible issue for people. They might think, well, if they haven't got a strong bench. If Rashford is out, or if Rashford's definitely out for one of the matches, the switch to Anthony would be a nice easy move, and I can see that happening a lot. So we'll wait and see if he's still on the assist imminent table. I can't remember. It's basically if you score more than 1 assist over the last 4 matches, you're off the table in a good way. So we'll wait and see if he's still there. Ramsey, another Villa asset to mention. This is exactly the sort of player that's going to do well in these final matches. Totally unexpected goals. No one's going to own them. We're going to ignore their points. I mean, is Ramsey a differential worth considering? Not this week, but game 38.
No, I don't. Well, we play your team, don't we, in 38, and that's going to be a tough game for both sides probably. So it's probably not somebody I'd look at now. I think we did like Ramsey a few weeks back before he played Forest, I think, and he's been ticking over nicely. He's full of confidence, but not now. I mean, it's very hard to fit a player like Ramsey into your team at the moment.
Okay, let's have a look at the latest goals imminent table. This is ahead of game week 37 so far. So obviously we still have another match to go. So this is what we got so far. Maddison, still there, still top. He's had 4 big chances, missed 3 of them. He has scored 6 shots on target. That's out of his 14 shots in total. 7 of those have been at close range. He's been on this table for 3 weeks now. He's still good. His team isn't, unfortunately. His expected goal delta, which is what he should have scored above what he actually did get, is he should have scored at least a couple more goals. That's a really high delta there to be on this table. Yeah. So I mean, we've spoken about Maddison.
Missed the penalty. Yeah, missed the penalty, didn't they? I think as well. But it's high regardless of that. But I don't think anybody's looking at him.
That would have. So I mean, we'll sort of sketch over him because we've mentioned him, and it's not really him. It's his team. Total. Anthony is next. So we did mention him. He is on this he's on the goals imminent table. So we mentioned him on last week's assist imminent table. This time it's goals. He's had 2 big chances, missed both of them. No goals yet in the last 4 matches. But he's had 14 shots 8 inside the box, so a lot of long range shots there, and just three on target. He should have scored, getting on for 2 goals over this period, according to the expected stats. So that's pretty strong. He's posting he's high up on this table, and he's posting strong stats. I mean, would you be? I mean, I know you probably got quite a strong bench, but would you be tempted by that move, that Rashford to Antony move?
Yeah, I think it's a fine move if Rashford's out. I think with Antony, his end product is lacking a bit. I think he's only scored 4 goals from over 60 shots across the season. And that was the case at the weekend as well. Yeah. He had a couple of really good chances and he missed them. But got 2 games. You never know. One of those games, he might just find his shooting boots, and he might do well. And if he's nailed onto that team, and I really like this double for United. They've got Bournemouth and Chelsea. Yeah. Bournemouth are safe now. Haven't got anything to play for. Chelsea have just been really poor under Lampard, so it's the best double to target. If I bought him in for Rashford, yeah, it'd be a double up with Fernandes, but I don't mind that.
Yeah. Next up, Bamford. I mean, he's on it partly because he missed a penalty as well. But nevertheless, he has had 11 shots over his last 4 matches he's played. 8 of those shots inside the box. New in this table. That's mainly because he missed the penalty, which he should have scored according to this. But he has scored a goal over the last 4 matches. 3 big chances, missed 2 of them. 3 shots on target. I mean, I said Leicester, they're down and out. But what about Leeds? I mean, what realistic chance have Leeds got of staying up?
Looks a bit more encouraging now, doesn't it? After the Newcastle game, they got a point. The next game feels it's going to decide their fate, I think, isn't it? They go to West Ham, who struggled at the weekend. So yeah, I mean, Bamford, it's not quite happening for him at the moment. He's had a couple of chances recently, and he's not. It made me think Rodrigo might replace him up top, but Allardyce specifically spoke about Bamford when he came in, so how important he was for his kind of hold-up play. So yeah, not looking at him myself, but when he's fit and he's sharp, which it isn't very often, but when he is fit, he's a good player.
He's a massive gamble for game week 38. That's what I would classify him as, because he has, he's got a couple of goals a game in him, and no one will own him.
Yeah, home against Tottenham as well. It's not a bad fixture the way Tottenham are defending at the moment.
Yes, indeed. Rashford is next. This all depends on whether he's fit or not. But he's had 4 big chances, missed 3 of them. 18 shots, 10 inside the box, 8 shots on target. Should have scored at least one more goal than the one he has already scored over this period of 4 matches. I mean, there's nothing more to say about that. It just depends if he's not fit, there's no point talking about him. But
sorry, Ten Hag was vague at the weekend. He didn't really discuss it too much. So we'll get a presser from him on Friday, I think. So hopefully he'll give a bit more clarity on that.
So I mean, here's the situation here. So This is a likely one. Ten Hag rules him out for the first game of the double, but says he's back in training today, and so we're very hopeful that he will play the second match of that particular week. What would you do with him? Because I mean, you and I have quite good benches, and so there are other players chomping at the bit to replace him. Would you take one game for Rashford?
Yeah, well, I would, because it's the Chelsea game, isn't it? At home, the second one, and we know how good Rashford is at Old Trafford, so that would be fine for me. It depends on the strength of your bench. I mean, we're both sat here with Isak on the bench, aren't we? Who has a really good fixture at home against Leicester. So then that's a genuine. I would probably start Isak in that situation, because there's always that chance if Ten Hag, he wasn't coming out and he's saying that he's definitely going to be playing. There would be a chance of a cameo. They've got an FA Cup final still to come at the end of the season, so they're not going to risk him. But they might bring him back slowly, then play him in game week 38. So I mean, it's all hypothetical what we're saying, isn't it?
It is definitely, but these are the sort of decisions we're going to be facing.
Yes.
And that's a particular one there, which I definitely will. And one game of Isak to the possibility of one game for Rashford. does sort of sway it towards the Newcastle guy.
It might depend what happens on Thursday though as well with Isak. If Isak plays 90 minutes and Wilson comes off the bench for 10, then we're going to be a bit unsure of an Isak start at the weekend.
That's
so
true.
That might sway it then in Rashford's favour.
Isak being benched midweek, then I would be very tempted by Isak, because that would indicate that Wilson might be benched next time, Leicester.
What do you think happens on Thursday, Joe, if you had to take a guess?
I don't know. I think we spoke about this a bit last week in that there's a bigger gap. Usually the way it is, I think when I spoke to Neil on the team news, he correctly predicted Wilson and Isak would start that match.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He then said he thinks they will share minutes. So one of them will be benched in one of the matches. So
I agree. Yeah.
I think that was a good. So if Isak is benched this time out on Thursday, I'd be really tempted to play him next week. But then if Isak starts and Wilson gets the bench, then Isak probably will miss out on the start.
Yeah.
It's just like with Saturday. We don't know until we can't correctly predict that. We don't know what's going to happen in training. So Wilson has been known to, pull out of matches, or not him, but the manager not select him for whatever reason, to do with his fitness.
Yeah.
So wait and see.
I think it'll be one. I mean, I've seen a few Newcastle fans predict that both start. I just think defensively they lose a bit when they start them both, and this is a big match against a very good attacking team, and it makes me think one striker. Right?
Logically, and I don't know whether I say this as an Isak owner, not a Wilson owner, but logically, when I'm looking at Newcastle as a neutral fan, that is not an FPL player, they look better with Isak. And Wilson is a really good impact sub. I mean, really, really good. So if you really want to win this game against Brighton, you play better. You play your best 11, which I think is Isak as number 9, and then see how it's going. And then you unleash Wilson on them.
And then you start Wilson against Leicester, which is, I think, probably the better suited game for a striker like Wilson to go in and do well. That's my thinking too. I mean, I'm not a Newcastle fan, and if there are any in the chat, I'd be interested to see what you say about it. But my instinct is that Isak starts this one and Wilson then starts the Leicester game. But could be wrong. Have been before. Yeah,
definitely. It's hard to tell, but that's logically the way to do. Because as Arsenal found out, Brighton is a tough fixture. They are good against top 4 sides. So.
Yeah. I mean, Newcastle would have been watching that, or Eddie Howe would have been watching that game on Sunday, and the way you attacked against an Arsenal side. And I think lining up with Isak and Wilson in the same 11, that could be asking for trouble.
That won't happen. So it's going to be a nervous wait for Isak and Wilson. I'm sure I'm sure on Twitter everyone's going to be really supportive of the whichever one misses out. As Twitter often is. Willock is next. Saw Gold FPL in the live chat. He is Willock's number 1 fan. 4.7 million. No big chances. Haven't missed any. No goals. But he did get that assist so far. Still got another match to go this game week. 3 shots on target, 6 inside the box, 10 shots. We have already spoken to about it. So Gold FPL, if you just joined us, you just missed out. We have spoken about Willock. You didn't think he was that good, Tom, but nevertheless,
at the weekend, I like him as an option. I just didn't think he was great against Leeds, but good FPL option.
Yeah, definitely. We've got Saka next. Once again, it's that Arsenal issue. I thought Saka looks okay against Brighton. As opposed to any of the other Arsenal players. But I don't think he's in the mix for Game Week 38, isn't he, in our thoughts?
Yeah, just depend. I mean, the good thing is if you are eyeing up an Arsenal player for 38, is you get to see them in 37 and to see how they react in that. I mean, the title will probably be a gone in it, but I think that'd be a good opportunity for Arteta to play his first choice team. They've had, whatever's happened in the past month or two, they've exceeded expectations in the fact they're going to finish second. So I think that the key players will start in 38. Yeah. I don't mind Saka for the Forest game. I think Forest do have problems down their left, and he might be able to exploit those. So I'm not looking to bring him in because of that uncertainty.
Yeah.
But if you own them, I think they're fine to play this week.
I'll just recap his stats. No big chances. No goals last 4, but 3 shots on target, 5 shots inside the box, 10 shots in total. His expected goal delta was just under 1, so he should have scored over this period. Just the 1 though. And Ciso, you brought him into your side. You enjoyed the fact that over the last 4 matches he has had 2 big chances, missed 1 of them, but he has had 10 shots, 6 inside the box, 3 on target, and he just squeaks into the expected goal delta. Expected stats fans like him. They think he should have scored perhaps a bit more than his current goal. You're happy with him, I presume. He's staying.
Well, I was really, really happy when he scored, and until Estupiñán kind of then went a bit wild and got there. I thought if I just was desperate for Arsenal to score and just take away that clean sheet, and then Enciso suddenly would have been a very good player to own. But yeah, he got the goal. He probably should have scored from a Matoma cross as well, shouldn't he? I think it was in the first half.
Yes,
he did limp. He was struggling second half. He went down with what the commentator said was cramp, I think, originally, didn't he? He looked in real pain with that. Then he kind of played on a bit. Then he got taken off, and I was kind of worrying, is this more than cramp? But De Zerbi didn't seem too concerned post-match. He kind of played it down.
I mean, he's one of the teenagers, so I think he would have come off the pitch around that time anyway.
Yeah.
And especially if it was cramp, I think he may not start against Newcastle, but he'll get minutes. So
and the good thing is for Brighton is if your player doesn't start on Thursday, then you've got that Southampton game which follows. So maybe maybe you want them to be benched on Thursday because that Southampton game at home looks great.
Well, I mean the way the rotation's gone at Brighton, everyone expected him to rotate against Forest, didn't, got beaten, so he did rotate against Wolves, and they all stepped up. It's the Southampton game you really want them to play. So Matoma and McAllister may miss out again that time around. So remains to be seen. But I know that Matoma's going to struggle with three games. The way he plays is going to struggle at the moment with 3 games in a week. So he's going to be benched for one of them.
It's just the wide positions. Maybe are they a bit short now, Joe, without Marsh as well?
I mean,
Matoma a bit shorter.
Matoma can play either side. We got Enciso can play there. Bonetta. Then you've got obviously you can have Undav, Welbeck, Ferguson through the middle.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to change formation. Pascal Gross, to be fair, can do a job up there. He plays right back and in midfield.
Versatile players, but that was my hope that was kind of a reason why I bought Enciso out because of that Marsh injury. It gave me a little bit more confidence that he might get a few more minutes. So.
I wouldn't be worried for owners like you if you don't see him in the starting lineup because he will come on, and then that would mean they'd be playing against Southampton, which you really want that.
Could be great,
and finally, Mitrovic, he's still there. I mean, it's sheer shot volume. His expected goal delta is not too high. Over the 1 he's scored, he should only have scored a fifth of a goal more than that. But his second week on the table, 12 shots, 11 inside the box. That's what you want. But just 3 on target, that's not what you want. So it's just a volume of shots. He's exactly where you want him to be, close range. They're just not on target at the moment. But back from injury, I think he's going to score again. I think he's just going to keep scoring, and we'll keep missing.
Yeah. Well, he's fresh, isn't he? And he's facing a lot of tired legs at this stage of the season. So him sitting out 8 games, might work in his benefit for these last 2 game weeks.
Definitely. Well, let's have a look at the assists imminent table. So crucially, what we're looking for is Manchester United, Manchester City, Brighton, and Chelsea players. They're the ones with a double game week. So that's why I highlighted Enciso, Rashford, and Antony on the goals imminent table. So here's the assist imminent table. So once again, I've highlighted those players that are playing twice. And I haven't done that for March because I just don't think he's going to play. So let's start at the top. It's Trippier again. 32 corners, 13 chances created. Should have assisted, getting on for nearly 2 assists over these last 4 matches. 14 successful crosses by absolute miles more than anyone else on here. 4th week on the table. Oh, everyone hates him, don't they? He plays FPL.
Getting frustrated, yeah, because a lot of people got him at a really good price, didn't they? Around about 5 million, and a lot of us have held him ever since then, but it's just not happening. Thought this double game, well, it still might be. He's got Thursday to go, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But I expect them to concede, so I don't think he's going to kind of hit double digits or anything like that. But yeah, I might be selling him this week, and if people need to raise funds, they'll probably be looking at that too.
Yeah, I think he may go for me in a 2. If I do make a move, Trippier is my weak link at the moment, so he would go. Because I think even Leicester can score against him, Newcastle at the moment. Fernandes, I'm just going to skip James because it looks like he's out for the season for Chelsea. So there's no point people getting him in. Fernandes is next. 17 chances he's created, 13 corners. He has scored. He has assisted over his last 4 matches. He's had 3 successful crosses, and this is his 4th week on the Assist Imminent table. This is why a player with his pedigree being on the table for this long, that's rare. And usually when that happens, they drop off the table. Now, he's already scored an assist. He just has to get one more to drop off this table, and I think that's going to happen. I think this double game week is going to be good for Fernandes owners, and I say that as a Fernandes owner. So you've spoken about him. You think he's a good alternative captain shout?
Yeah, I think if it starts to build that kind of concern that Haaland will only start 1, I expect him to be if Rashford's out as well, or if there's doubts around Rashford, I think he'll be the one that people turn to.
Willian, see also Mitrovic with Fulham. 8 chances created, 9 corners. He scored 2 goals over his last 4 matches. He has had an assist as well. He's still on this table because he hasn't scored 2 assists over the last 4 matches. These are great returns. He should be assisting more. He's 3 successful crosses. 1st week on this table. We're all going to ignore him. He's going to continue getting returns. And in fact, he's now got Mitrovic ahead of him. So the assist, that's it. He's off this table. He will get an assist next match.
Yeah, he's been a great signing for Fulham, hasn't he? Yeah. Really, really good player. 5 goals and 5 assists across the season. So 10 attacking returns and real bit of quality. And Fulham have looked, from going on the beach, they suddenly look now like they're pretty motivated, don't they? With Harry Wilson playing well and Mitrovic back, and they've lost Andres Pereira, but Tom Kearney's come in and done really well. So fair play to them.
Maybe they're looking at just getting out the table to get as high as they can for the extra money. McAllister is next. He's still on this table. So he's had 2 successful crosses. 3 weeks on this table. He's had scored a couple of times, both penalties and 5 corners. McAllister, he's due. I think owners can feel happy with him. I think he's can play in a variety of places in midfield. Traore's next at Bournemouth. We're going to skip him because he doesn't really get the game time anymore. This is the last 4 matches they played. Odegaard, I guess. See also Saka is next. 7 chances created, 3 goals he scored, but hasn't got the assist but to build on his potential here. And he's the 1st week on the table. No successful crosses though, because obviously he's not the crosser in the team. Odegaard, I think I will get Odegaard in game week for because I'm not going to be around for deadlines or anything. I just want to get a good player in who's got a good fixture and just leave it at that. I think Odegaard's going to come in for me. Is he sort of the best Arsenal asset at the moment, do you think?
Probably. Well, say that. If Martinelli's out, and Trossard's going to be quite an interesting one because I think he'll be the one to benefit from that. He'll get the minutes. It's quite hard at Arsenal. There's a lot of good options. Saka hasn't quite hit the height, his earlier season heights, but he's still a good option. He's probably on penalties. Jesus as well against these next 2 defences because they're playing Wolves at home. Wolves have actually been very good at home recently, but away from home they've really struggled. So it's hard to say who's the best option. Odegaard's, he's nailed, isn't he? He's kind of in that central role. He creates, like you can see from this, but he takes a lot of shots as well, albeit from range. But yeah, I think it's just really hard to analyse Arsenal and where they're going to be at the moment. So yeah, let's hope they do something at Forest and kind of at least kind of we're talking about it this time next week about who to bring in.
Meanwhile, in the live chat, Adam Clark has popped in. He's a Fulham fan, and he was saying that we're playing for a club record points total. I didn't know that.
Okay.
So perhaps only Fulham fans would know, but so this is their motivation. This is amongst their motivations to do as well as they can and get their best total ever in the top flight, which would be good. So, well, good luck to them.
And great season.
Yeah. March is next. I don't think he's going to play. I just don't think he's going to be an option just for sake of sort of completing the table. He's had 10 chances created, 8 corners, 3 successful crosses. But I just don't think he's going to play. Eze next. We've spoken about him already. 9 chances created, 8 corners, 3 goals. No assists, but he should be assisting as well. 3 successful crosses. So, I mean, because we've already mentioned him. But good to see him still on there, and annoying. We're all going to keep ignoring him. But this last name is the one that I want to talk about a bit. Grealish. Now he's been benched twice. He did frustratingly came on for the last 10 minutes or so for me this week. But no corners, but 9 chances he's created, no goals. He has had an assist last 4. Should have got a little bit more. 4 successful crosses. What do I mean, I'm tempted to ditch him in game week 38, and I've got him because he's been benched twice, because they got Real Madrid. Will he actually start in this double game week, or has Foden just nicked his place?
I think he starts against Chelsea at the weekend, and then I think a bit like Haaland, I think he's probably benched in the Brighton midweek game, and then I think he probably starts game week 38 to kind of keep that rhythm.
Right.
They've got the FA Cup finals the weekend after. They've got the FA Cup final the weekend after game week 38, and the weekend after that it's the Champions League game. Well, I think you'll get. Personally, I might be wrong. I think you'll probably get 2 out of 3 starts out of the next.
So there's been
which could be enough.
I was going to say there was an article on Fantasy Football Scout this week, looking at this very issue, because looking at their previous seasons when they've won early. Because it was Scott Carson came on in goal in one particular campaign. So is that sort of based on that? You feel that if they're before a big cup game like the FA Cup, that he'll want to keep momentum going, but if there's a game before that, that's the one that the first teamers will miss out on?
Well, I think the Carson one was they won the league, and in the following match they went to Newcastle, and that's when they rotated quite heavily, which will be the exact scenario that we're faced with, that if they beat Chelsea at the weekend, they might even be champions before that, but if they'll likely have to win that. I think Arsenal will probably beat Forest. Sorry, any Forest fans, maybe they will get something. They're fighting for relegation, but if we presume that's going to happen, that Arsenal win, so then that game against Brighton will be the one where they probably rotate heavily, and then they play their strongest team in game week 38 in preparation for the FA Cup. It's very hard to predict. We don't know. We haven't got all the inside info on Man City and the way they're training and who's in red zones, etc. But that would be my kind of. That's the way. That's in my head. That's the way I'm thinking at the moment.
I know. Another motivating factor, which may be different this time around to last time, is I know it's something that Jurgen Klopp has mentioned before, and others. When you get to this side of the season, there's a feeling that it's unfair to put out a weakened side against a team that's playing for something, or is in the relegation scrap, or so if you put our weakened side against a team that's in the relegation scrap and then they beat you, then another team will have a better chance of surviving. It's just that feel of sort of sportsmanship. Do you get any sense of that with Man City?
Not so much with City, because I think if they rotate, they're going to go in with Mahrez and Foden on the wings, and they'll probably play Alvarez up top.
Well,
Now
yeah.
this isn't really, in my opinion, weak. Well, look, it's not Haaland up front, but it's still a blooming good front line.
I mean, I was thinking
Whereas
more,
when Klopp said it, no, you are right though from saying it, but I think the drop off at the time with Liverpool, second team. City are they've got depth all over the pitch, haven't they? It's incredible, what they can do.
Yeah, so I guess
who they can bring in.
There's a light years difference between Liverpool's B-side and Man City's B-side.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily, when I say it's a week, I'm not saying there'll be 11 changes, but I'm saying in certain positions, the flanks are the obvious place which relates to Grealish for the changes, because they've got Foden, they've got Mahrez, who are international players, have been brilliant for them over the years. They'd need minutes as well. So, taking Grealish out in for a breather in that Brighton game would make a lot of sense for me, because they need him for the FA Cup final. They need him for the Champions League final if they make it. So
okay, we're going to switch to our teams now. So in the live chat, do have a think about some questions. Do put them in there, but do put a question mark on them so I can easily see them. And after we've chatted about our teams for a little bit, I'll have a look through those and we'll answer as many as we can. So we'll go with your team first, Tom. Do you want to read out who you've got, what your plans are, who might come in, who might go, and who you're captaining?
Yes, so in goal, I've got Kepa. Now, there is a few doubts around him after he was dropped at the weekend for Mendy. Lampard hinted that it wasn't a permanent change. Mendy, I don't think had a great game either. So I don't really want to be using a transfer for a keeper at this stage in the season. So I think I'm just going to play Kepa and hope for the bench, and hope that if he does miss out, he misses them both. And Raya could come in for a game, which, he'll probably concede, but has the potential to rack up some saves. So Kepa's in goal for now, and I think it will stay like that.
Yeah, so he's away to City and Manchester United. So I'm going to hazard a guess. You're looking at save points there, not clean sheets.
And a few minus points for goals conceded as well, I think. But if he could come out of that with 4 or 5 points, I think you'd say that was a result, wouldn't you? So so Kepa in goal. Defence not looking great, I suppose. I've got Alexander-Arnold, and then I've got double Newcastle at the moment with Botman and Trippier. Now, I'll come to my moves in a minute, but that might be an area where I look to strengthen. I've got 5 midfielders, which one of those is Rashford. So if he's fit, I'm really happy with that. I've got Salah, McAllister, Bruno Fernandes, Mitoma joining Rashford. And then up front, I've got Enciso and Haaland, who's my current captain. But I'm thinking that through. It's certainly not nailed at the moment. And then on the bench, like I said, I've got Raya, but then I've got Isak. I've got Keane, who isn't playing at the moment. And then I've got Alex Moreno at Liverpool. So again, not much depth compared to a lot of other teams.
Okay.
I'm
going to guess your potential move. Is it Trippier to Shaw?
Well, that's the obvious one, isn't it? That's my first thought. And that is, United have been really good defensively at home. They've got that home game against Chelsea. And that seems like the move, which then suddenly the team looks pretty strong, I think, for this week, because I'd rather sell Botman than Trippier, I suppose, but I can't afford that Botman to Shaw move, hence it being Trippier to Shaw. And Trippier hasn't done great recently, so now might be the time to lose him. If I do that move and then Rashford is out, then I'm happy for Isak to come in for a really good home fixture against Leicester. I suppose if I felt a bit more punty come Friday or Saturday morning, whenever I make my moves, then looking at Man City, if Rashford was going to be out, could look at, a move to Mahrez or something like that, potentially. I could look at Isak to Alvarez, because I think Alvarez would be a really good player to own for this double. So those are the other things I'm just kind of going through. But I think it maybe depends what happens on Thursday. If I come out of this week and I've had a good week and I'm up to kind of 40k or something overall, I might be happy then just to make that sure move and hope to build up gradually. If I have a bad Thursday, I might be more willing to take a bit more of a gamble, which is the way I tend to work. And that might be more of an Alvarez kind of move. But then again, yeah, if I bought Alvarez in for Isak, I'd be relying on Rashford coming out. Otherwise, you've got a big benching headache. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I'm kind of at the moment. And then game week 38, I'm not going to even think about that, but that'll be a punt. That'll be a differential pick. So
Yeah, I mean, with the just looking at the decisions based on Thursday. I mean, as we said before, it's a lot with Isak owners and Wilson owners. A lot is going to depend on which starts against Brighton, because whichever one doesn't is very likely to get that start against Leicester. So if it's Isak, I'll get him in. So if Isak is starting on Thursday and Wilson is benched, then I'm more inclined to keep Isak on the bench.
yeah, same.
Take it from there. But yeah, no, good team, and I think a good move, the obvious move there, but also got the chance. Have you got 1 or 2 transfers for this?
Just got the one.
Yeah.
I made 3 last week. I had 2 frees last week, and I made 3. I suppose what I am missing is maybe the double game week defender with Stupinan, but I'm going to hope that Brighton score enough goals against Southampton, and hopefully a weakened City side. I know it won't be weakened much, but hopefully they'll rotate out players like Stones and Diaz, and then your Brighton attackers maybe have a little bit more potential.
Yep, definitely. Okay, let's move on to my team. So also got a 3-5-2, that depending on Rashford. So I have I used my 2 free transfers last week. So I brought in Isak for Grealish and McAllister for March. So that's done. So I've just got the 1 transfer this week, which I'm looking to actually save. So I've got Steele in goal, Trippier, who is currently the weak link. I then have Shaw and Alexander-Arnold, so I'm pretty happy with that backline largely. And then I've got McAllister, Matoma, Fernandes, who's my vice-captain, Grealish, who we think is going to get the Chelsea game and maybe some minutes against Brighton, and also Rashford there. And then up front I've got Haaland, who's my captain, and Harry Kane, who is against Brentford. This is Spurs' last home game of the season, and I understand Spurs are unveiling a nice mural outside their stadium for Harry Kane to eulogise him more. This says to me Kane will score. It could be his last home game for in a Spurs shirt. That says to me. Well, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I mean, he tends to return. He kind of feels inevitable at this stage. Doesn't even against Villa with a few minutes to go. He gets the penalty and he jumps up into the bonus. And Brentford's a very tough game at home, but or with Brentford, they're a well organised outfit, but you still back Kane to score, wouldn't you?
Yeah, definitely. If Rashford is out, that's the likely move. I've got Isak on the bench. So as we discussed, this all depends on whether we think he's going to start against Leicester. But I really would, if he's going to start against Leicester, I want Isak there. I guess at a push, I would play double, like you've got, double Newcastle defence, and just hope that Leicester are still really awful in attack. But I've also got Henry at Brentford. I'm not keen on playing because he's against Kane there. So decisions to be made there. I may end up making a move. I might end up doing something like Trippier down to a defender, but I can't see who I would get really. It would just be a City one. I don't think I'm going to get 2 games out of them. So
no, I think you've got Alexander-Arnold and you've got Shaw, and I think they're you can't get a Stupinan because you've got Steele. So I don't see anywhere else to go.
So a lot of people have replaced Rashford already, but the thing is, if Rashford's back for game week 38, they've got a good match in game week 38. It's against Fulham at home, I believe. So that was going to be a nice open game for him. So I wouldn't want to be without him, but
Yeah,
that
he
may
could
be
be.
a
Could
move
be a
on.
nice. It could be a if you can afford to bench him, and he is to this, because they'll probably try and get him minutes in that game with the
Yeah,
FA Cup final. That he
definitely.
could turn out to be a crafty little differential in
Yeah.
38. So
Yeah, so we'll have to see and hope. Well, I'll talk to Neil a lot on team news about that.
so
Kepa's obviously on my bench as well, and yeah, City,
yeah,
Manchester United away. He's not as good
yeah.
as Steele for this
No.
week. So that's me really. A little bit up in the air. I might make a move. It all depends on Isak's start against Leicester and Rashford's fitness there. Right, let's have a look at these questions in the live chat. So do keep putting your questions in, and we'll get to as many as we can. So a question from Gavin: best goalkeeper for the run-in. So we're looking at double game week 37 and per game week 38 as well. Who would be good?
Ooh.
So you would assume a double game week one. So
Yeah. I'm just gonna go through the options now. So
I mean,
your goalkeeper still.
I think Steele or De Gea.
Yeah, I think De Gea looks like a great shout. Yeah.
I think these are good fixtures. He's got a good fixture in game week 38.
Yeah, I'd agree actually.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think De
I'll
Gea
go De Gea.
would be the best, but I do think Steele as well.
Because interestingly, because we've always spoken about Sanchez, haven't we? And
Yeah,
but he wasn't on the bench at
no,
Arsenal, and De Zerbi in his post-match press conference said that he wasn't injured. They had agreed to leave him behind, and when he knew that he wasn't going to play. So whether
yeah,
or not there's a bit of friction there,
well, yeah,
which is good for Steel owners because
yeah.
it looks like he'll probably start all
Well,
the
I
rest
think
of
he
the
is. I think
games.
he's,
So,
he's. I mean, he was at one point the third choice Brighton goalkeeper, putting in himself over Matt Ryan, and now, I mean, we saw it again at the last Brighton match with Steele against Arsenal. Is they play out the back? He's really good with his feet. So he's got the ball at
yeah,
his feet. He draws in those Arsenal attackers, and
yeah,
then passes it to Lewis Dunk, and then the play starts. And
yeah.
as they're doing that, Arsenal have already got
They've
some of their
committed, haven't
attackers
they?
essentially out of
Yeah,
play because the ball's moving up there, so
yeah,
they've got to suddenly move, and they're on the back
yeah.
foot. Hey presto!
It's very similar to what Emery's doing at Villa, and
Yeah,
when you haven't got the right goalkeeper for it, it causes some very nervy moments. Martinez is getting better at it,
yeah,
but it's not his typical play style. So it does cause, but when it works, which it's obviously working for Brighton now,
yeah,
it's an exceptional way of playing because you can take out 3 or 4 attackers
yeah,
and bypass them, and then you're straight on the attack and your initiatives with them. So yeah, I can see why you
yeah.
do it. But yeah, it looks good. Looks good for Still now. But I do think I think your De Gea shout is where I'd really look in.
Yeah, I
So
would there, but yeah, I think Steele is the next best option because you're going to get the 3 games from him. I mean, because seeing Sanchez not on the bench, even on the bench, I mean, he's probably on his way out. Probably.
yeah,
It was just similar. I mean, I'm not hearing anything, but I'm getting the same vibes as when Trossard didn't play.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like, oh, he's not available. Well, he's in Belgium, crying
yeah,
until he can get moved to Arsenal. So
yeah.
that's so I'm getting the same sort of vibes. Not sure. I don't want to sort of put him
I,
down too
I
much.
think I agree.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Nihao asked Bruno and Ayew in for Grealish and Rashford. Jordan Ayew at Palace. Is he a midfielder or an attacker in the game? That shows I haven't even considered him.
He's a mid. So
Presumably he must be a
yeah,
midfielder if he wants to swap
yeah, he
him
is. Yeah, I
for
don't mind
Grealish
him
and
because
Rashford.
now because Zaha's looking like he might be out.
Yeah,
So then he kind of becomes a little bit more nailed in that team. And he's actually been putting up some quite good numbers. I presume you're only going for Ayew. Maybe it's a funds thing and you can't quite get to Eze
yeah, it would
or
be an
Elise.
enabler for who's got good fixtures. But yeah, I
Mm,
don't mind that move at all.
no, he got good
But
fixtures.
it's one of those weeks where I would wait until team news. So wait until team news on Friday because we don't know what the state is for Rashford. But yeah, if Rashford's looking really dodgy for at least one game in that double, it becomes much more tempting. There. Bradley asks, if you couldn't get to Shaw, would you contemplate Wan-Bissaka if you wanted to bring in Fernandes? So once again, Fernandes is going to be popular. So my ownership of Fernandes is going to rocket up and he's going to become sort of mute points wise, but
well, he generally steps up, doesn't he, in the double game weeks, and people remember that.
But yes, the point there. If can't afford Shaw, so would you go for a cheaper option, and would Wan-Bissaka be the best one, or perhaps another Manchester United defender?
I think Wan-Bissaka, he always feels risky to me because of Dalot. Now, in the reverse fixtures, so when United played Bournemouth and Chelsea last time, Dalot played one and Wan-Bissaka played the other, and that kind of emphasises. I do think Wan-Bissaka has gone up in the pecking order maybe a little bit recently. He's played very well, but whether or not it's enough to get 2 starts, it would be a bit of a risk. You could do it. You've got Lindelof as well, who's 4.1 is cheaper still. Now we did think maybe with Varane coming back in that Lindelof would drop out and Varane would go with Shaw at centre back at the weekend, but that didn't happen. Lindelof kept his place alongside Varane and Shaw went to left back. So Lindelof as well, maybe they're coming off the back of a clean sheet against Wolves, so maybe he's going to be preferred for the run-in, and maybe that would be. I don't think either of them are completely secure. No. But maybe he's a little bit more secure for 2 starts.
Yeah, I mean, there is a risk with anyone apart from Shaw and Dyer. But nevertheless, I think it's possibly a risk worth taking because the fixtures are good. They have a double game week as well. Yoon asks, Wilson to Alvarez or Rashford to Grealish? I'd probably say neither at the moment because we don't know about Rashford. I don't know. I mean, I'm a Grealish owner. I don't think I would persuade anyone to get him in. Not because I want to keep my share of his points, but I feel that, as you said, he's going to play twice in 3 games. So other midfielders are going to play twice in 3 games anyway.
Yeah, I think out of those 2, I like the Wilson to Alvarez move. Although only if Wilson's benched on Thursday, then it becomes a bit less appealing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that Leicester game's really good for him. But if he were to rack up serious minutes on Thursday, I like Alvarez because he's been covering for De Bruyne recently, but he can also cover up front for Haaland. So I think he'll get plenty of minutes over the double.
Yeah.
But maybe just see what happens on Thursday and then kind of revisit that Thursday night once you know what's happened and clock the minutes that Wilson's got.
Good advice. Kareem is looking at McNeil, who can save Everton. I did on the members video stream. On Friday, I had a little look at players that had scored over 40 points in the last 6 matches. And there weren't that many of them, but McNeil was one of them. And I was using that as an example to say that there's players that, everyone on Twitter and us, we talk about here, but there's all these differential players out there who have the potential of returns. So, I think McNeil is a fine option because he could get returns, but I more look at him as the principle of that. If you're looking for a differential, a player like McNeil is a good move to get in to move up the rankings. But there may be some other ones as well. Gibbs White at Nottingham Forest, for example. Yeah,
I'd feel a lot more confident getting McNeil in if we know Calvert-Lewin's fit. If he isn't, then suddenly those crosses into the box. I mean, they sometimes, when Calvert-Lewin wasn't available, they went with Demarai Gray up front, for instance, or they might bring Sims in or Maupay, and none of them have got the kind of that hold-up play and that physicality of Calvert-Lewin. So I think that if he's fit, if Dyche comes out and says, he's ready to go, I'd feel more confident punting on McNeil, I think.
Kun asks, how important do you think it is to have 2 free transfers at game week 38? And that's going to depend on a lot of things, but it's not totally vital because you can, in a roundabout way, have 2 free transfers if you make one of the moves in game week 37 to free up cash. Because one thing I've been doing a lot this season is when I have made a move, I've done a downgrade move. And so there's frequently this season, I found myself with 2 to 4 to even 5 million in the bank. And that's like having 2 free transfers because you can then use that to upgrade another player. So you sort of carry it over the 2 weeks. But nevertheless, you could wait. But if you want to make a move and it's a downgrade in game week 37, I think I quite like that because you still get that flexibility in game week 38.
Yeah, I think if you go into 38 with 2, I think it's obviously a nice thing to have. It does give you a bit more flexibility. But I also think that this is the last double game week of the season, and so you might want to just use a transfer because it's a great opportunity to get a big score in this week. So I wouldn't be kind of rigid in my thinking. I'm definitely going to spend one transfer this week because I think there's areas on my team which I could improve, and in a double game week, it's arguably the best time to do it. So.
I mean, I just had a thought actually about a possible transfer, which may chime with what other people are saying. We were talking about the Newcastle strikers. So if Isak does start midweek, that would indicate that he might not against Leicester. Isak to Alvarez could be a good move if we think also Rashford's not going to play. So I could bench Rashford, play Alvarez. I know he's going to get minutes for the second game. Probably he's going to get some kind of minutes against Chelsea. I think, that's a move I could very well make depending on the situation with Newcastle strikers and Rashford.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as what I've kind of got one of the potential moves. And he might not get minutes against Chelsea because Pep doesn't tend to always make substitutions when you want him to. But then he's probably going to get the Brighton game in midweek and 90 minutes or close to 90 minutes of Alvarez. Brighton's going to be a tough game, of course, but they played a lot of games recently, so you never know what would happen. This is City, they can score 2 or 3 against anybody, can't they? So,
definitely.
It might be nice.
So I'm definitely thinking about that. So that's a very roundabout way of saying that it is important to have two free transfers, but also important you can quite happily not. Omar, rank these 4 players from start to bench: Wilson, Isak, Alexander-Arnold, Lindelof. Right. Alexander-Arnold is never on the bench. That's just, don't put him on the bench. And then Wilson, Isak, that all depends on which one starts on Thursday. And then Lindelof last. Similar for you?
Well, I would probably, if one of the Newcastle forwards starts on Thursday and then doesn't, I would be tempted to play Lindelof over the one that did start on Thursday, because I think Lindelof he was preferred at the weekend. You could get 2 games out of Lindelof potentially. It's not guaranteed, but you might. And so, I might be up. I'd probably tempt the Newcastle forward bench the Newcastle forward who starts. Did he want to bench 1 or 2 or 1?
I don't know. I mean, he just said rank them in order.
Okay, all right. So I think a Newcastle forward would be in the last spot for me, but whichever one starts on Thursday.
Yeah.
If they both start, then that would be Wilson, because I don't think he'll start again at the weekend.
Okay. Now I've seen Monday. There's absolutely loads of questions here, so we're going to run out of time soon. So we're sort of quick fire the rest of these, so I might not answer some, but I'll get Tom to, and if Tom doesn't, I will. Is Kevin De Bruyne a good punt now?
Who's like me? Okay. I don't know. I don't think I'd go there now. No, because I think you might get the Chelsea game out of him. But then I don't think you'll get the second game if he does play that one. And I do think they're going to be very careful with him because of his importance. Yeah.
So. I'm presuming you probably got Salah in order to make that move. And if you are thinking of removing Salah, which is perhaps not advisable, but if you are, Fernandes is probably the best one to get in. I would say.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with City now. I'm looking at the fringe players rather than the first 11 players because of the situation they'll be in.
Yeah. Zubin asks Kepa to steal for a -4. It depends on who your second goalkeeper is. If your second goalkeeper's playing, then just go with that. Just being done.
Yes, see what Lampard says as well. He might give us, he might tell us what's happening on Friday. So.
Okay. Adam Clark, do you have to use the triple captaincy on Haaland? If you've still got it left, I would potentially not, because I don't think he's going to play the second game. Fernandes would be a good.
Yeah,
I would go for Fernandes if I had the triple captaincy. I would go for Fernandes, because you're just looking at sheer racking up of points. You're going to be turning up, assists, possible penalty. Yeah.
And United need 2 wins from their last 3 games as well to seal Champions League qualifications. So yeah, I mean, it depends what type. It depends on your rank. If you're happier with it, if you want to be chasing, if you want to be a bit more aggressive with your moves. But I mean, a triple captain on Fernandes, if it comes off, I mean that has the potential to be a De Bruyne moment when he went a bit crazy against Wolves, and I think Salah was the most captain last season when he blanked. And I'm not saying Fernandes is going to score 4 goals, but if he gets a couple and an assist or something, and Haaland doesn't get the minutes, then it could be massive swings with something like that. So well, not swings, but it could just help your rank so much. So I get why people would look at that. Yeah.
And Ciso or Undav for Brighton forward for the double. Take your pick. They will both get minutes, and they're both capable of scoring. That's just I have no personal preference. FPL term.
Well, yeah, you're the best person to ask. I think I would pick Enciso just because that right wing position maybe feels a little bit like he's. Because he can play behind, he can play anywhere across the front three, can't he, Joe? He can play left, he can play middle, he can play right. Whereas Undav, can he do the same?
No, he's more central. So I mean that's where he's most effective. But I say that because if he's not starting and he comes on, he can easily score 2 goals as a sub.
Yeah, we saw the impact at the weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, there's a lovely clip of if anyone's seen it of when he scores, he goes up to the fans. And it's really nice. It's just a nice moment. It's not too raucous. It's just sort of fans and team as one. It's just quite nice to see.
You've got options up front though now, haven't you, with Ferguson and Welbeck as well for it. So lots of competition.
Mahrez or Gundogan?
Mahrez for me.
I think
I get why people like Gundogan. He's obviously in a really good moment, but again, I think it's that. Given his age, and mate, you might get 2 starts out of the next 3, but maybe with Mahrez you'll get more minutes.
Tim asks Trippier to Shaw, which is something if I didn't have Shaw and Trippier I would definitely do, but for a hit, I don't know. No, I wouldn't do it for a hit.
I don't. Well, I'll say that. I mean, these are 2 really good fixtures. Yeah, maybe that's just me as a more I'm not a massive fan of taking hits, and I don't think that's a bad home fixture for Trippier, is it, against Leicester?
I think it will probably pay off, but not by much because of the hit.
Yeah. I think if you did want to do it though, they have got a good fixture in 38 as well. So have a look at your defence, and if you're struggling to field 3 good defenders in 38, you might be more inclined to take the hit if it helps sort a problem out in that week. So.
Charlie asks Firmino a good punt considering it's his last season. Yeah, I mean he's gonna get game time, but we don't know when do you think that's likely to be? It's gonna be a home game, surely, isn't it?
Well, that would be the Villa game, but I don't know if he'd start that. I mean, Liverpool are in the hunt for this Champions League place, aren't they? I don't know quite where he's at with his fitness. I mean, he was obviously there, didn't play last night, but he was there, and I don't think I'd go there until, because I don't think they're just in a position to be able to do that and just give him a start as a send-off when there's so much to play for at the moment. You've got Jota, who was on the bench last night, so there's a lot of depth there with Gakpo, Diaz coming back to fitness, Salah's obviously nailed in there. You would think you would get a game, but it might be off the bench. Maybe speak to some Liverpool fans as well. I'm not totally sure. You might want to see what their read of it as well.
So a lot of these remaining questions can all be classed with the answer wait and see who starts up front for Newcastle, because we've spoken about this a lot. So for example, Suhu asks Alvarez to Isak. Isak to Alvarez, because I think you just got to wait. You got to wait and see which one is going to start Thursday, because chances are they might not start against Leicester. Which is the better doubling duo once again, Martial and Gundogan or Alvarez and Bruno? On paper, Alvarez and Bruno, I would say. Yeah, but once again, it depends on Rashford, depends on who you're taking out for Alvarez. If you're taking out a Newcastle striker who's just about to play Leicester, then that could be Ishan, Salah to Bruno. I mean, well, that's a nice easy question. Salah to Bruno. Would you do that if you didn't have Bruno? Just keep.
No, Yeah, I mean, Salah at home at Anfield is just he scored 8 games in a row, I think, and Villa looked better against Spurs, but
Yeah,
we struggled we lost to Wolves in the away match before that. The away match before
yeah,
that, we scraped a draw at Brentford.
yeah.
Liverpool, the way they're playing at the moment, I mean, I really like Fernandes as an option this week, but it's Salah, and he goes to Southampton on the last day of the season, another great fixture.
Yeah.
So I don't think I would.
Okay, I think we're going to wrap that up now because we've answered a lot of questions there. I hope we've given you the answers. Apologies for those we didn't get a chance to, but I think a lot of the answers basically will be tied up with starting lineups on Thursday, and who will play midweek, and also Rashford's injury is going to dictate a lot of moves. But meanwhile, good luck everyone with your game week. I hope we're giving you some food for thought from the goals and assists imminent tables, and also good luck with your game week, Tom. Hope you have a great score.
Yeah, you too as well.
See you next week. See ya.
Thanks, Jay.